Welcome back, everyone. Annie's going to talk about art in the age of Instagram.
What's not to talk about? I feel like this topic is interesting to me, but it also, I think the reason I want to talk about it is because it feels like defining art in a digital era is sort of a moot point. Like it is for everybody what you want it to be, and it's sort of this mutual kind of collaborative process where everybody's being affected by what other people post. And so I don't think there is, in starting this conversation, I don't think there is a right answer to this of like, how has art been affected by the digital age? I just think that it has been.
What are your favorite places? Like, where do you go for your like, oh, that's art on Instagram?
I feel like there are certain like groups of like collectives that I'll follow, or different like magazines or publishing companies. But I feel like for the most part, the nice thing about art on Instagram, for instance, as that platform, is that it's sort of self-governed. It's like the SoundCloud thing. People generally discover through what you like, you sort of refine your taste, and then you are able to discover people that you wouldn't have otherwise. One of the people that I was gonna talk about today is a photographer named Natalie Yang, who went to UC Santa Cruz, which is where I went to college, but we were never at school at the same time, and I've just discovered her work through knowing other people, like generationally or a year apart. And I really like her work, and she's sort of gotten picked up and does, you know, ID is a big, you know, the sector of Vice that does creative. And so she's doing different photo shoots, and all of her work is around like sort of female development and the like vulnerability of, you know, adolescence and different things like that. But what piqued my interest the most this week, of why I wanted to talk about this, is because LA is making the first selfie museum.
Okay.
And this is like totally a sort of sensation or a phenomenon in the last couple of years of spaces in real life that are designed for Instagram, or designed for the digital experience that happens after the actual experience that you're having. And so, you know.
Wait, say that again. The digital experience that happens after the experience you're having. You're saying like the wall, like a mural that gets painted so people can show up and take selfies in front of it? Or are you saying like the museum is like?
I guess I'm saying that the experience of posting something on Instagram afterwards of a place that you're at is the experience. Right. More so than being at, okay, for example, the Museum of Ice Cream, which has become this huge sensation, started in New York in 2016, sort of ironically directly across from the Whitney American Museum, which is like the, you know, one of the sort of pinnacles of the art world, very hard to get into. And then this museum right across the street, which is all about like ice cream and popsicles, the viewership for it has just had a complete boom, and much more so than a traditional museum like the Whitney. So I guess just sort of curious about that.
So what do you think about that? Like what does that say about, I mean, the selfie thing? Selfies get a bad rap for sure, but everyone does them.
I don't know about everyone, but
a lot of people do them. Everyone but Ja'Cory does them.
No, I wouldn't even say myself, but just, I don't know. I think we exclude a lot of the people that are not necessarily so social media involved. Like there are people that just, for whatever reason, whether it's their social circles don't really engage in it, or their internet connection isn't as reliable where they are in the country. They don't really engage as much as social media as we do on the coast or in like the major cities, you know? But that's all I was saying. I wasn't saying like, oh, I don't. Just everyone,
I mean, I love that idea of the like art that is, it's not the experience you have, it's the documentation of the experience. That's what I hate. Like every time I take a photo, every time I take a selfie, I like have this existential crisis of like, shit, I hate taking myself out of the moment for that. But I also do want to remember the experience that I had. But I definitely don't want, and that's like pictures for billions of years, or not billions of years, but like dozens of decades. I don't know when they invented the camera. Since the Civil War photo was like, here we are in this place, you have proof. But there's like the folks who are like, all right, can you hold this and take a picture of the 5 of us doing this thing so we all can have it later? But I really hate the like extra layer of like, I want everyone to know that I did this. And tomorrow I have to schedule a new place to go so I can maintain the idea before everyone else that I've never met that I do these things and my life is brilliant.
Yeah, well, I guess it also sort of illuminates for me, like, I found it interesting when I was reading about it because I imagine your experience when you go to a selfie museum is about you interacting with it, but it's sort of about you, whereas usually in a museum or an exhibit, you're going to view other stuff. You're going to see something. You're not going to be on display. So I wonder if just as a product of our age, if that is, you know, sort of affected our viewing experience, that we do integrate ourselves into a lot of, you know, what we experience.
Are you cool with that?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a choice. I don't know if, you know, some aspects of it seem good. Some aspects of it seem, I think, potentially problematic.
You started to say, I don't know if I have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. What does that mean? That you don't know if you have a choice? I get it.
If I can speak to it, I think.
Hell yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I think as an artist currently, it feels like you don't have a choice. It seems like you have to integrate yourself into your work for people to emotionally attach to it. That was something one of my photographer friends really struggled with. Is she's a great photographer and takes amazing images and has been successful, but to like kind of reach this new echelon of success, she had to weave herself into it and kind of show her face so people could attach themselves to her. And kind of come for her and her art. It's not, because there is that kind of like oversaturation now where it's the Instagram is full of people doing art. So like, why do you separate this one from this one? Generally, it's because you like that person more than the other person. Right. You can relate to this person more than the other person.
Selfies get more likes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Selfies, get more likes.
And I get that the experience is like, I want to see what you're doing. Right. I followed you because I want to see what you're doing. It's weird though, like, Picasso, like I know what that looks like.
Yeah,
I see Picasso in the painting, but I don't see Picasso physically in the painting.
Right.
But that's the difference between levels of artists. To me, is the ability to communicate your essence without me necessarily seeing your goddamn face. Doing this.
I hear you,
well,
but
I think unless part of your statement in your art is what is the representation of the artist, right? Like I think a lot of artists have work with that concept of like, what is just my work when it's not connected to the hand that made it. But that seems like a niche to me. That is one type of art making. I don't think every, you know, a creation of art has to have the master's hand sort of like, you know, in concrete on top of it. And I do feel like that experience is a little bit more sort of homogenized that way, where you know, you have to have the cult personality, or it seems maybe it's playing into that era of our lives that like.
Right. Well, here it is. I think there's an art to cultivating an online following that involves a shit ton of science. If you ask I hear conversations all over the damn place, all over this building that happen like, all right, I'm gonna communicate my feelings about this, my deep feelings about this, and there's a market for that.
Yes,
like,
very much so.
That. I heard that yesterday and it stole, I already expected it from this person, fuck them, but like, it stole my soul.
Yeah.
Just like, stop, you just got done saying, I am showing an authentic part of myself, and then your ass is gonna go say like, and there's a market for that.
Yeah.
Gavalt, I just wanna puke after that.
Yeah.
That is what I reject. And that is the thing that when I see it in photos, and it's the present and like that existential crisis is like, I so don't wanna be that person.
Exactly.
But like, there are people, but then to give that other person the benefit of the doubt, like, well, if you have a good message, you want the most people to see it. And so there are ways maybe you can tweak your message so that more people see it. How do you reconcile that?
I think, well, overall, just the trend, like observing the trend itself, it seems like it's probably a pendulum swing. Because you brought up Picasso, and I think that's something that a lot of people have often wondered. Is like, yeah, I see this amazing painting, I see this like Michelangelo, I see the Sistine Chapel, and I understand that. But like, what was that person like? Who did that? We had no clue who these people actually were in the essence of their being. Yet we have these great references of them for thousands of years later, where we pay homage to them and we hold them as the standard for their art, but we didn't know anything about the person. So do you think that's maybe a pendulum swing now?
There's also the mystery of like, was Michelangelo secretly communicating his innermost feelings, or was he like, all right, what does the client want?
Well, at that point, like I don't know about earlier in his time, and I don't know about this about other artists that were working at that time and however much they were visible or not. But Michelangelo was like the guy to hire, you know? Like at that time, he was doing work in Florence and Rome and getting commissioned by, the Vatican to do work. So he was the shit of, Renaissance painters at that era. That was what you wanted to be.
Yeah.
But so, that is a similar, although generationally different, like cult of personality thing of, people do sort of, that's always going to be.
Is it the personality or is it just the work? Because from my speculation, it doesn't seem like people were like, Michelangelo, that dude is very similar to me when he goes home. I want him, it was kind of like they saw the work and the work spoke for itself, so they hired that person.
But culturally, you could say like, what is he doing? He's doing the Vatican, he's doing David, which is like David slew Goliath, that's a biblical painting. The dynamic of artists communicating to people probably mimic that of like God telling you what to do. Like it's for the church, it's for this giant representation of power that for better or for worse either like controls you or inspires you. So I just want to make something beautiful that represents the power of God. So maybe that dynamic hadn't really been invented yet.
Right.
Though the Renaissance was like individualism's getting born and you're worth it. So maybe this is like, they didn't know how to express it the way we know, but maybe subversively it was getting out there.
Or maybe it was their equivalent of, you didn't have to physically see their face because they didn't have camera phones, but they did want the name to be attached to, oh, this is a Michelangelo piece. Like it was very important about who made it. That's still a similar cult of personality, just not based on, visible recognition and what the separation is between that.